Another potential landmine of reduction is Social Security and income taxes. Let's talk a little bit more about this, and let's talk about Social Security and tax planning, and also how the whole issue of taxes and taxation works. Now, up to now, we haven't really dealt with taxation. We've dealt with reduction by claiming early. So we talked about claiming 12 months early or 36 months early, and the reduction that occurs when we take benefits before full retirement age. So those were age-based reductions. When we think of Social Security and taxes, taxes may apply, depending on your income, every year. So regardless of when you take a benefit, Social Security taxation is going to be tested. So it's not an issue of when you take your benefit. It will always be taxation issues. Social Security is taxed only at the federal level, not necessarily at the state level. It will depend on the state you live in. In the state where I live in, California, it's not taxed at all. So if you think about it, and we're going to look at an example tax return in just a few minutes, if you plan well and if you maximize Social Security, you're maximizing a tax-favored source of income. We can't do the type of planning, tax planning and tax reduction for other types of income like we can with Social Security. And even at the federal level, it might not be taxed at all, or it may only be partially taxed. It will never be fully taxed. It's never 100% on the tax return. It may be at a 0% level if you don't exceed certain income thresholds, a 50% level or an 85% level. And which of these levels you are at depends on a concept the IRS calls provisional income. And here's our formula. It's going to be our adjusted gross income without relation to Social Security benefits, plus half of the Social Security benefits that are being received, plus any tax-exempt interest like municipal bonds. That is the total amount of provisional income. And there's a tax form that is the taxation of Social Security. You run all of these income numbers through in order to calculate the provisional income. This is a summary of the chart. This is a summary of the tiers, so to speak. So our first column is the filing status for taxes, and then the provisional income grid, and then finally what is the amount of the Social Security benefits that are subject to tax. So if I'm married, if I make under $32,000 of provisional income, think of this. 0% is taxed at the federal level, 0% is taxed at the state level. That goes a long way if I get every single dollar of the Social Security. Between 32 and 44, half of it goes on the tax return, and over 44, 85% of it goes on the tax return through the taxation grid. Let's look at an example. This is a condensed return. You'll see that when we put down the Social Security benefits, in the first column you'll put the gross amount, but that's not necessarily the total amount that actually gets taxed. If you look at the final column, the taxable amount is only the amount that goes as, quote, income in order to be taxed. This is a portion of the form that goes through that provisional income grid. So in this example, these are our total benefits. We get $33,000 of Social Security benefits, so only half of that amount goes in as provisional income, and then this $25,000 is an example of IRA withdrawals. Let's say I need $2,000 a month of IRA withdrawals. So my half of my Social Security plus my IRA withdrawals gives me provisional income of $41,000. which is a little bit over the $32,000 threshold. So that amount above the $32,000 threshold, we're in the 50%, so only half of it actually ends up in the taxable amount. So to the extent that you can plan to get maximum Social Security and keep your other income, work income, IRA withdrawals, etc., underneath the provisional income limits, you're going to maximize the total amount that you get from each dollar of Social Security.